what Brownie thinks he's doing." Sabo went cold. Carefully, he kept his eyes on the captain's face. "I guess he's nervous," he said. "He doesn't belong on a satellite station. He belongs at home. The place gets on his nerves." "I didn't like his report." "I know," said Sabo. The captain's eyes narrowed. "It was hard to believe. Ships don't just happen out of space. They don't wander out interstellar by accident either." An unpleasant smile curled his lips. "I'm not telling you anything new. I wouldn't want to accuse Brownie of lying, of course, or you either. But we'll know soon. A patrol craft will be here from the Triton supply base in an hour. I signaled as soon as I had your reports." The smile broadened maliciously. "The patrol craft will have experts aboard. Space drive experts. They'll review your report." "An hour." The captain smiled. "That's what I said. In that hour, you could tell me the truth. I'm not a drive man. I'm an administrator, an organizer, and director. You're the technicians. The truth now could save you much unhappiness in the future." Sabo stood up heavily. "You've got your information," he said with a bitter laugh. "The patrol craft can confirm it." The captain's face went a shade grayer. "All right," he said. "Go ahead, laugh. I told you anyway." Sabo didn't realize how his hands were trembling until he reached the end of the corridor. In despair, he saw the plan crumbling beneath his feet, and with the despair came the cold undercurrent of fear. The patrol would discover them, disclose the hoax. There was no choice left. Ready or not, they'd have to leave. Quickly, he turned into the central control room where Brownie was working. He sat down, repeating the captain's news in a soft voice. "An hour? But how can we—" "We've got to. We can't quit now. We're dead if we do." Brownie's eyes were wide with fear. "But can't we stall them somehow? Maybe if we turned on the captain." "The crew would back him. They wouldn't dare go along with us. We've got to run, nothing else." He took a deep breath. "Can you control the drive?" Brownie stared at his eyes. I think so. I can only try." "You've got to. It's now or never. Get down to the lock, and I'll get the charts. Get the sleds ready." He scooped the charts from his bunk, folded them carefully, and bound them swiftly with cord. Then he ran silently down the corridor to the landing port lock. Brownie was already there, in the darkness, closing the last clamps on his pressure suit. Sabo handed him the charts, and began the laborious task of climbing into his own suit, panting in the darkness. And then the alarm was clanging in his ear, and the lock was flooded with brilliant light. Sabo stopped short, a cry on his lips, staring at the entrance to the control room. The captain was grinning, a nasty, evil grin, his eyes hard and humorless as he stood there flanked by 3 crewmen. His hand gripped an ugly power gun tightly. He just stood there, grinning, and his voice was like fire in Sabo's ears. "Too bad," he said softly. "You almost made it, too. Trouble is, 2 can't keep a secret. Shame, Johnny, a smart fellow like you. I might have expected as much from Brownie, but I thought you had more sense." Something snapped in Sabo's mind then. With a roar, he lunged at the captain's feet, screaming his bitterness and rage and frustration, catching the old man's calves with his powerful shoulders. The captain toppled, and Sabo was fighting for the power gun, straining with all his might to twist the gun from the thin hand, and he heard his voice shouting, "Run! Go, Brownie! Make it go!" The lock was open, and he saw Brownie's sled nose out into the blackness. The captain choked, his face purple. "Get him! Don't let him get away!" The lock clanged, and the screen showed the tiny, fragile sled jet out from the side of the station, the small, huddled figure clinging to it, heading straight for the open port of the gray ship. "Stop him! The guns! You fools, the guns!" The alarm still clanged, and the control room was a flurry of activity. 3 men snapped down behind the tracer guns, firing without aiming, in a frenzied attempt to catch the fleeing sled. The sled began zigzagging, twisting wildly as the shells popped on either side of it. The captain twisted away from Sabo's grip with a roar and threw one of the crewmen to the deck, wrenching the gun controls from his hands. "Get the big ones on the ship! Blast it! If it gets away, you'll all pay!" Suddenly, the sled popped into the ship's port, and the hatch slowly closed behind it. Raving, the captain turned the gun on the sleek, polished hull plates, pressed the firing levers on the warhead servos. 3 of them shot out from the satellite like deadly bugs, careening through the intervening space until one of them struck the side of the gray ship and exploded in a purple fury against the impervious hull. And the others nosed into the flame and passed on through, striking nothing. Like the blinking of a light, the alien ship had throbbed and jerked and was gone. With a roar, the captain brought his fist down on the hard plastic and metal of the control panel, kicked at the sheet of knobs and levers with a heavy foot, his face purple with rage. His whole body shook as he turned on Sabo, his eyes wild. "You let him get away! It was your fault, yours! But you won't get away! I've got you, and you'll pay! Do you hear that?" He pulled himself up until his face was bare inches from Sabo's, his teeth bared in a frenzy of hatred. "Now we'll see who'll laugh, my friend. You'll laugh in the death chamber, if you can still laugh by then." He turned to the men around him. "Take him," he snarled. "Lock him in his quarters, and guard him well. And while you're doing it, take a good look at him. See how he laughs now." They marched him down to his cabin, stunned, still wondering what had happened. Something had gone in his mind in that second, something that told him that the choice had to be made instantly. Because he knew, with dull wonder, that in that instant when the lights went on he could have stopped Brownie, he could have saved himself. He could have taken for himself a piece of the glory and promotion due to the discoverers of an interstellar drive. But he had also known, somehow, in that short instant, that the only hope in the world lay in that one nervous, frightened man, and the ship which could take him away. And the ship was gone. That meant the captain was through. He'd had his chance. The ship's coming had given him his chance, and he had muffed it. Now he, too, would pay. The government would not be pleased that such a ship had leaked through his fingers. Captain Loomis was through. And him, somehow, it didn't seem to matter any more. He had made a stab at it. He had tried. He just hadn't had the luck. But he knew there was more to that. Something in his mind was singing. Some deep feeling of happiness and hope had crept into his mind, and he couldn't worry about himself any more. There was nothing more for him. They had him cold, but deep in his mind he felt a curious satisfaction, transcending any fear and bitterness. Deep in his heart he knew that one man had escaped. And then he sat back and laughed. The end of Derelict by Alan E. Nourse.